Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is BrightOps, and we're trying something a bit different today in that we're using an emulator. I will happily share the information of which emulator we're using in the description, and we will also like to give a thanks to Brennan, who introduced me to this emulator when I mentioned the idea of wanting to play... Okay, sorry, wants to do its opening video, but we're not going to let it. Anyway, this is a PlayStation 2 game that was very near and dear to my heart, called Yu-Gi-Oh! The Duelists of Roses. The idea being that it is literally Yu-Gi-Oh! Set in the War of the Roses period. We haven't started a new game yet, so let us begin. It has been quite a few years, actually. It is good to be back. The British Empire in the 1480s. The Wars of the Roses, a power struggle between the houses of Lancaster, Red Rose, and York, White Rose, to decide a royal successor, was nearing an end. With the Yorkists well in the lead, the reign of Richard III was but a step away. And in France, Yugi, Henry Tudor, the last Lancastrian heir, was being forced to live a life of exile. The Lancastrian forces were rendered powerless by ancient cards of sorcery wielded by Seto and his 7 followers, who, known as the Rose Crusaders, served under the flag of Lord Crawford, a powerful Yorkist nobleman. Lacking a duelist to champion their cause, defeat was imminent for the Lancastrians. In England, duel card games were still in the fledgling stage. Thus, the Lancastrians had to look elsewhere for a duel master capable of facing the Rosencrets in battle. With this in mind, Margaret Mai Belfort of Lancaster secretly requested a high druid to summon a duelist from another age. Whoa. Summoned from the mystic circle of red and white roses, the one capable of harnessing pure power. There was truth to the legend of the Rose Duelist. Lady Margaret, I did it. Now we have the means of defeating the evil forces of Rosencrets. Oh, my apologies. In my excitement, I'd forgotten I was in the presence of the Rose Duelist. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Simon McMurran, High Druid and Servant of Lancaster. May I be so bold as to ask the name of which the Rose Duelist would like to be known? Okay. Let's see, where are you? Right. Let's see, is there a space bar? Guess there is. I do have to appreciate that this game has more options for names than most modern ones do. BrightOps. BrightOps, a fine name indeed. Now here's the situation. The year is 1485 and you are currently in Stonehenge, near Salisbury, England. The British Empire is in turmoil, with the House of Lancaster's rightful claim to the throne being challenged by the Yorkist usurpers. The power struggle is referred to as the Wars of the Roses, a name based on the Brit badges used by both sides. A red rose for the Lancastrians and a white rose for the Yorkists. Right now, our kingdom is threatened by the Yorkists and their wrongful claim to the throne. All because the Yorkists enjoy the support of the Rose Crusaders and their sorcerous White Rose cards. Using our Red Rose cards, we summoned you, BrightOps, to this day and age. We hope that your dueling experience would defeat the Rose Crusaders and lead us to victory. You will help us? Of course you will. Foolish of me to even doubt where your loyalties lie. Rumor has it that only the legendary Rose Duelist stands a chance against the power of Rosenkreuz. We appreciate any help you can provide against them. Before I forget, I should warn you that the rules to dueling differ here from those of your age. Here in England, dueling is governed by what is known as the perfect rule. In addition to several minor distinctions, there are two major differences. One is the existence of movement or positioning, the other is the deck leader concept. These are the two aspects of dueling that were lost in the process when the ancient sport of duel monsters was adapted to card form. The perfect rule represents these lost rules that were miraculously revived here in England. Perhaps a practice duel will serve better than an explanation. Shall we? Sure. Might as well show off. Let's start with the basics of dueling. First, let me show you how to summon a monster. To bring a monster into play, you must summon it from your hand to the field. Now let's draw a card from your deck. Currently, the card you're indicating is your deck leader, the Dark Magician. Let's order your deck leader to operate your hand. You can do this by selecting your deck leader and pressing square. See the blue square? That's an area where you can place your summoned monster. Let's place the monster in a position directly in front of your card leader. Line up the cursor by pressing the up directional button and then press the X button. Oh. Apparently I am not necessarily in control at the moment. This is your current hand. Apparently there's only one monster in your hand that can be summoned to the field. This is because summoning a monster requires a certain amount of power. The spot currently indicated is where your currently available summoning power is displayed. At the start of a duel, you have 4 summoning power points. This amount will increase by 3 every turn, and you can accumulate up to a maximum of 12 points. When a monster is placed on the field, summoning power points equal to the monster's level are expended. Your current summoning power points total 4. Hence, the only monster card you can summon to the field is a level 4 monster, the Celtic Guardian. The dark cards are the monsters that you are unable to summon this turn. Now let's summon the Celtic Guardian. First, move the cursor over to the Celtic Guardian card. Press the X button. Yeah, it's literally just doing it for me. At this point, if you wish to cancel your selection, press the O button. To enter your section, press the X button once again. You've now summoned the Celtic Guardian and the card is ready for battle. Now let's attack your opponent with the Celtic Guardian. To control a monster on the field, you must first activate the card you wish to move. This Blue Eyes White Dragon is your opponent's leader. Let's try to attack the enemy leader. First, let's activate your monster by lining the cursor up with the desired card and pressing the X button. See the square that indicates the space where your monster can be moved to this turn. Your opponent's card leader is directly ahead. Let's move straight to that space. To move your monster, you must select your destination with the cursor and then press X. The Celtic Guardian advanced 1 space, completing its move for this turn. Monsters can only move once per turn. However, a deck leader's summoning does not count as a move, hence the monster can move immediately after being summoned to the field. Since there is nothing else left to do this turn, let's end your turn. To end your turn, press the start button. From this point, it's your opponent's turn. Your opponent is summoning a monster and preparing to attack you. Now it's your turn. There's an enemy monster heading your way. Let's use the Celtic Guardian to eliminate the threat. To attack your opponent's monster, all you have to do is move your monster into the same space occupied by the enemy monster. A monster attacking another monster is referred to as a battle. The outcome of a battle is decided by your attack and defense factors of the respective monsters. Putting the outcome aside, let's attack. Remember how to move your monster? Let's do it. Okay, got a little bit weird there. You've eliminated your opponent's monster and moved one space closer to your opponent's leader. However, your opponent is now aware of your monster's strength and will probably bring a more powerful monster into play to retaliate. Now let's take a look at the factors that govern the outcome of a battle. Here's how your attack played out. Your Celtic Guardian was in the attack position. Your monster automatically assumes the attack position whenever it is moved. The attack position indicates that your monster has either moved or attacked. A monster that doesn't move and holds its position is said to be in the defense position. Currently, your Celtic Guardian and the opposing baby dragon are both in the attack position. The outcome of a battle is decided by comparing the strengths of each monster. In this case, both monsters are in the attack position, hence the attack factors of both monsters are compared. The attack of the Celtic Guardian is 14,000, the attack of the baby dragon is 12,000. As a result, the baby dragon is eliminated and the attack difference of 200 is applied as damage against your opponent's life points. Now let's take a look at what might have happened if the opposing monster was stronger. Let's say your opponent had a Komore dragon in play. With an attack of 15,000, the monster is much more powerful than your Celtic Guardian. When you attack this creature, your Celtic Guardian is eliminated and you suffer 100 points of damage to your life points. What if the attacks were equal? Let's say a winged dragon guardian of the fortress number 1 with an attack of 14,000 is brought into play. What happens? Both monsters are eliminated and neither player suffers any damage to their life points. Now let's take a look at defense position. Hard Armor is a monster with a high defense factor. The card is currently horizontal or in the defense position. A monster set in this position cannot move or attack. In battle, the defense of a monster in the defense position is used to decide the outcome. Although the defense of Hard Armor is fairly high, it is nothing compared to the attacking Celtic Guardian. Let's attack the monster. Well, I wouldn't really say 12,000 is high, but whatever. Hard Armor is eliminated. Note that eliminating a monster in the defense position will not inflict any damage to the player controlling the eliminated monster. Now let's see what happens if the defending monster is Aqua Mador. This card has a defense of 12,000. What happens when you attack this monster with your Celtic Guardian? Your attack is counted and the 600 point difference between the attack of Celtic Guardian and the defense of Aqua Modor is inflicted against your life points. Since your attack failed, your attacking monster is stricken back to its original position. What if you attacked Rock Ogre Grotto number 2, whose attack is equal to your monster's attack? Whose defense is equal to your monster's attack. Though no damage is applied to your life points, your monster is forced back to its original position. This concludes our lesson on battle outcomes. Now let's continue with the duel. As you recall, your Celtic Guardian successfully moved into a position where it could attack your opponent's leader. Your opponent's leader is unsupported and defenseless, leaving it wide open for a direct attack. A direct attack is an ideal opportunity to inflict major damage to your opponent's life points. Attacking a leader will result in inflicting life point damage equivalent to the attacking monster's attack factor. Let's try a direct attack. The procedure is the same as setting up a battle between two monsters. You have now inflicted 1,400 points of damage to your opponent's life points. You're now on your way to victory. As you can see, it is important to avoid direct attacks as much as possible. You should act immediately whenever an enemy monster is approaching your leader. Currently you're winning, however your opponent may retaliate. With this in mind, summon a monster with high defense points. Let's use this monster to protect the front of your leader. Since it has a high defense, place it in the defense position. To set a monster into defense position, follow the same step as movement and set the cursor over the monster card and select it for a move. Now press the L1, R1 buttons to toggle between attack defense. Okay. Be careful that you don't move the monster to its destination space, as this will automatically set it to its into its attack position. Rightio. Note that a monster card summoned on the field is initially placed face down and is hidden from your opponent's view. The card will be flipped face up whenever it attacks or is attacked by an enemy. You may also manually flip a card face up. To do so, select the card for a move and press the R2, L2, R2 buttons to toggle the card face up or face down. Once you have the card in the desired position, press X to enter the selection. However, you should note that a face-up card cannot be returned to a face-down position. That's why you should be very careful when you manually turn a card face-up. Your opponent has now summoned a Kaiser Dragon, a powerful dragon-type monster. You don't have a monster that's strong enough to withstand an attack from this creature. Fortunately, you have a magic card on the field that's capable of stopping the attack of dragon-type monsters. Okay. Permanently spellbounds all dragon monsters. In fact, this magic card is capable of preventing the movement of all dragon-type monsters on the field. Let's use the magic to stop the opposition, and focus on continuing your attack on the opponent's leader. You can trigger a magic card by flipping it face up and completing its move. Flip the card face up in the manner described earlier. The control inputs are the same for magic as those for monsters. Let's try activating a magic card. The opposing monster has been neutralized with the magic spell. Now let's go after the enemy leader. I will feel like it would probably be a bit better for me if I was actually able to press the buttons to go with the tutorial, but whatever. A duel can go either way. At times you may find yourself cornered by a cunning opponent. There will be occasions when there's nothing you can do but accept defeat and go for a rematch. You may surrender a match by pressing the select button. But don't give up too quickly. A well-played card could easily turn the tide of battle in your favor. That concludes our lesson on the fundamentals of how to battle in a duel. Well, we'll figure out buttons on this controller in a bit, because I'm technically using an Xbox controller when this was a PlayStation 2 game. Now let's take a look at how a duel is settled. There are 4 individual conditions for deciding the outcome of a duel. One condition is to reduce an opponent's life points to 0. Your Celtic Guardian is about to execute a direct attack on your opponent's leader. Since your opponent only has a life point total of 1000 points, the damage you inflict will reduce your opponent's life points well past 0. In short, you're about to emerge victorious. The following example is a more complicated situation for which the LP0 condition applies. In this scenario, the life points of both players are 500 points respectively. Your opponent has a not too powerful Needle Ball monster in play. However, the monster has a special ability. When the monster is eliminated in battle, it automatically inflicts 500 points of damage to an opponent's life points. Strength-wise, the Celtic Guardian is far stronger than the Needle Ball. Now let's take a look at what happens when you attack this monster. As can be seen, the LPs of both players have been reduced to 0. The result is a draw match. In this manner, the outcome of a duel is decided after all the triggered effects have been taken into account. Be careful that you don't get dragged into a draw when you have a good chance of winning a match. Another condition that arises that decides the outcome of a duel is the occupation of summon areas. The areas indicated in blue whenever you attempt to summon a monster are called summon areas. If all of those areas are occupied by your opponent's forces, you will lose the match in play. To be more specific, if your opponent occupies all your summon areas at the end of your turn, you lose. If you find yourself surrounded, it is vital that you clear at least one of these areas before your turn is over. If your leader is in this position, that leaves you with only 3 summon areas. When you're on the edge like this, there are only a few summon areas, and if they are all occupied, you'll lose. Depending on terrain conditions, there are spaces that cannot be used as summon areas. In this situation, there are few as summon areas, and if they are occupied by your opponent, you'll lose. The next condition for deciding the outcome of a duel is life point comparison, resulting from the clock running out on a duel. The time remaining in a duel is displayed in this location. The number of turns remaining will decrease by 1 following the completion of your turn and that of your opponents. When the number of turns remaining reaches 0 when both players complete their respective turns, the outcome of the duel will be decided. In this case, the player with the higher number of life points is declared the winner. Hence, maintaining a lead is a key strategy for the smart duelist. The final condition for winning is unleashing the power of Exodia the Forbidden One. It is said that somewhere in this world there are 5 very rare cards known as Exodia the Forbidden One and its 4 forbidden limbs. Individually, these cards are weak due to the spells that bind them. However, once those spells are broken, an unstoppable force is unleashed. To release Exodia from the binding spells, the following steps are required. Exodia the Forbidden One. First, Exodia the Forbidden One must be brought into play as your deck leader. Then you must position the 4 limbs of Exodia in the surrounding summon areas. From there, flip over to the attacking position. When you enter into your turn, without any spells or controls preventing you from executing a normal turn, Exodia will be freed and your opponent will face hopeless defeat at the hands of this awesome creature. This concludes our lesson on victory conditions. Now let's take a close look at some of the other details and rules for dueling. First, you should be aware that there is a limit to the number of cards that can be placed on the field. Here's a situation in which several monsters have been summoned to the field. This display shows how many monsters you have in play on the field at the moment. Each duelist can only place 5 monsters respectively on the field. Any attempt to summon a monster that exceeds the aforementioned limit will result in the summoned monster being reduced to dust. Likewise, only 5 spell cards can be placed on the field. You should take care to leave a summon area open so you won't find yourself in a situation where you are unable to play a key card. Now let's talk about the consumption and recovery of summoning power points. Summoning power points are required in order to summon a monster to the field. At the outset of a duel, each duelist has 4 summoning power points. Yep. Hence sparing a level 4 monster into play at the start of a duel. Hence bringing it level 4. We'll use up the total available summoning power points for that turn. Summoning power points spent in this manner will gradually recover as time passes. At the beginning of a turn, 3 points will be added. points that are not expended will continue to accumulate. However, you will not be able to accumulate over 12 points. Even in situations where the addition of points would exceed 12 points, you will not gain beyond the amount. Some monster or spell cards can significantly help or hinder recovery of summoning power points. Use these to your best advantage. Now let's talk about spell cards and what happens in battle. When placed face down and unused, your opponent will not be able to tell whether you have a spell or a monster card in play. Like monster cards, spell cards can be attacked and can initiate attacks. The face-up monster card is yours. Your opponent has a spell card. When a spell card is attacked by a monster, it is easily destroyed. Though a spell card can be easily destroyed, attacking a spell card will never result in damage to your opponent's life points. Now you have a face-down monster card. In Monster vs. Monster battles, face-down monsters were turned face-up. Here's what happens with spell cards. I might need to have to adjust the resolution of the screen a little bit, because I think it's a little bit screwy when it comes to these sorts of things. As you can see, the spell card is destroyed, but the monster card remains face down. As a result, spell cards cannot be used to discover the identity of a monster card. The only way to do that is to attack with a monster card. Let's see what happens when a spell card is used to initiate an attack. Nope, similar to when it is destroyed, the spell card is easily destroyed. This is still the case even if the monster is in the defense position. The spell card is destroyed. Let's see what happens when you use a spell card to initiate an attack against an opponent's face-down monster card. Although it can't be verified, the card being attacked is a face-down monster card. As in the previous cases where a monster card attacked and destroyed a spell card, the monster card remains face down. You should always remember that although spell cards are capable of powerful magic, they can be easily destroyed. When you bring a spell card into play, you should move it carefully. Now let's take a look at what happens when your spell card attacks an opponent's spell card. The rules differ from those applied when battling a monster card. First, let's see what happens when you attack an opponent's spell card with a face-down spell card. In this case, the attacked spell card is destroyed and the attacking spell card succeeds in penetrating your opponent's defense. Initiating an attack with a face-down spell card will let you avoid having the card turned face-up when you wish to avoid it. The fundamental rule is that a spell card cannot turn an opposing spell card face-up in a battle. Let's see what happens when a face-up spell card attacks an opposing spell card. This time, the spell card is activated. It's important to remember the conditions for activating a magic card. A magic card is activated when it completes its move face-up. Hence, regardless of whether a battle occurs, the magic card is activated since it had completed its move face-up. As a result, you should be careful about moving a face-up spell card. Now we'll discuss terrain effects. The field in which a battle is conducted consists of spaces with various terrain features. The majority of these terrain features have their own unique energy force and often strengthens or weakens a monster. Let's take a look at an example. Right now, the Celtic Guardian is in a space where the terrain has no effect whatsoever on the card. The result is that both the attack and defense factors remain at 14,000 and 12,000 respectively. Now let's move this monster card to a meadow space. In this space, the attack and defense factors increase by 500. raising the factors to 19,000 and 17,000 respectively. Since the Celtic Guardian is a warrior-type monster, it has an advantage when occupying meadow terrain. In this manner, whenever a monster is in its favoured terrain, 500 bonus points are awarded. There. Another added bonus when a monster is in its favoured terrain is increased movement. If a monster starts its move in a favourable terrain, the monster can move up to 2 spaces. A monster card with increased movement capabilities is noted in this area. When a monster with this mark is toggled to movement mode, the card's increased movement area is displayed in this manner. Please note that a face-down card is not rewarded terrain bonus. This time, Celtic Guardian is face down. Let's try moving the card. As you can see, there is no movement bonus awarded despite the fact that the monster is located in a favourable terrain space. Now let's turn the card face up. You can see that as long as the card is face up, the movement bonus can be used. Hence, to take advantage of the movement bonus, you must first turn the card face up and then select the space you wish to move. This time we have a dark terrain space. I have no idea how to pronounce that first thing. Meganium is a fairy type which is not suited for dark terrain. When not affected by terrain, the Meganium card's attack and defense factors are 18,000 and 12,000 respectively. Now let's move the card into an unsuitable terrain space. The attack and defense factors of the card decrease to 13 and 15,000. In short, whenever a monster ends up in an unsuitable terrain, there's a 500 point penalty applied to the card. Since terrain can significantly affect the outcome of a battle, you should plan your destination before committing to a move. Since we're on the subject of terrain effects, let's talk about terrain with special features. First of all, there's the Labyrinth terrain. The Labyrinth is an extremely powerful obstruction and cannot be entered by most monster and spell cards, nor by a leader card. In addition, a Labyrinth space cannot function as a summoning area. However, a card that has entered a Labyrinth space by means of effects such as teleportation can easily exit the space and enter adjacent spaces. You can also initiate an attack against a monster located in a Labyrinth space. Wall Shadow has the ability to freely enter and exit the Labyrinth space. It is currently located in the Labyrinth space. The Flame Swordsman has an attack capability that exceeds Wall Shadow. What happens when the Flame Swordsman attacks a monster located in the Labyrinth space? As can be seen, the opposing monster is destroyed, however Flame Swordsman cannot enter the Labyrinth space. Aside from certain monsters, Labyrinth is a space that can never be entered, making the space ideal for preventing an advance. Use it wisely. Crush terrain can be entered with no resistance, and has no positive or negative effects on most monsters. However, this area is infected with a plague that will attack and destroy powerful monsters. Specifically, any monster with an attack of 15,000 or more will be immediately destroyed under any one of the following conditions. A monster is summoned in the Crush space, moves into a Crush space, is located in a space that is transformed into a Crush space, or is in a Crush space when either you or your opponent's turn ends. Since the Celtic Guardian only has an attack of 40,000, it is not affected by a Crush space since the Crush is not activated unless a monster has an attack of 15,000 or more. On the other hand, the Flame Swordsman has an attack of 18,000 and will activate the Crush. The effect of a Crush space is deadly. However, there are no restrictions to exiting the crush space and entering an adjacent space. In short, if you find your monster moved into a crush space by means such as teleportation, you could avoid destruction by immediately moving out of the space. Since the crush space is activated by the attack level, a leader which doesn't have any attack or a spell can move normally in the space. As can be seen, there are various special features for particular terrain spaces. The mark of a good duelist is how well he or she can use the terrain to his or her advantage. Now we'll discuss spellbinding. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this first episode is just going to be the tutorial, but okay, there's a lot, but let's be honest, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a lot to discuss in Yu-Gi-Oh! Spellbinding is a condition by which a card is unable to move as a result of a spell or other means. When a card is spellbound, it cannot be moved, flipped, or repositioned for attack or defense. Let's see what happens when the Celtic Guardian is spellbound. Right now, the Celtic Guardian is unable to move due to a spell. The turn counter for a spellbinding begins on the turn following the actual casting of the spell. So if a card is spellbound for one turn, it won't be able to move in the next turn, and regains movement on the turn following the next. There are situations in which a spellbinding can last more than one turn. In fact, there's a very dangerous condition, internal spellbinding, which doesn't release the bound card no matter how many turns may pass. At the moment, Celtic Guardian is held in an eternal spellbinding. Under this condition, the Celtic Guardian will not be able to move no matter how many times you declare that your turn has ended. Instead of the number of turns remaining until the card is able to move being displayed, an infinity mark is displayed instead. It is very difficult to break an internal spellbinding. There are only a few monsters and spells that have the capability to free a spellbound monster. Aside from the aforementioned, the only other way to free a monster from a spellbinding is to destroy it. Now let's take a look at the most common form of spellbinding, the attribute binding. Alright. The Parrot Dragon is a wind attribute monster. With an attack of 2000, it is much stronger than the Celtic Guardian. However, the Celtic Guardian is an earth attribute monster, which places it in a more favourable position against wind attribute monsters. The advantages and disadvantages of attributes are displayed respectively during a battle. Let's see what happens when the Celtic Guardian attacks. The weaker Celtic Guardian is destroyed, however the opposing Parrot Dragon is now spellbound for one turn. In this manner, a monster of lower attribute that survives a battle is spellbound in the turn that follows. This rule also applies even if both monsters survive the battle, as in a case where a monster is unable to destroy an opposing monster with a higher defense factor. Attribute differences can be effective when using a weak monster to render a stronger monster immobile. An opponent's powerful monster is in pursuit. You don't have any surprise up your sleeve and your leader is isolated, creating a dangerous situation. Even under such desperate circumstances, a good duelist will bide for time, believing in the summoned monsters and the chance of drawing a card that could turn the tide of battle. Your belief in the luck of the draw could be the key to winning a battle. Among duelists, this belief is referred to as the destiny draw. Depending on how desperate a situation is and how gifted you are as a duelist, you may be granted the opportunity to attempt a destiny draw. It looks like victory may smile on you. This is your chance to draw the card that could turn the tables against your enemy. The destiny draw opportunity is signaled by flashing the area that is normally used to indicate that you can summon a monster from your hand. Drawing when this condition is indicated will usually result in the drawing of a card that will help you in your current predicament. Try drawing a card now. Take a look at the last card that you drew. The card on the far right. It should be a card that will bail you out of your current situation. Using this card wisely will help you overcome your desperate situation. However, you should remember that a destiny draw depends on luck and only occurs once in a duel. When it might happen is anyone's guess. All you can hope for is that Lady Luck smiles on you when you most need it. And that won't happen if your hand already consists of 5 cards. If that is the case, all you need to do is reduce your hand in the following turn in the hopes of triggering a destiny draw. Of course, if your deck is low on cards, there will be no destiny draw. Luck is an important element to victory. Even the best duelists could lose without the aid of Lady Luck. All cards are deeply bound to the duelist. Your experience is a vital key to strengthening the power of your deck. An indication of this is provided by rank, a record of a card's performance throughout all of your duels. A highly ranked card will demonstrate the special powers unique to its nature when the card becomes a leader. Take a look at a Dark Magician ranked Field Marshal. Alright, no special ability, power up card. At this rank, the card's special powers are Extend Support Range, Increase Strength for same type friendlies, and Weaken specific enemy type. Let's take a look at your opponent's leader. Alright. Sadly, I can't speed this up. The baby dragon has the following special powers: increased movement and open opponent's card. Since there are various special powers that evolve for each leader monster, we won't be able to cover them all. To understand the concept, let's take a look at the baby dragon situation. The best way to learn about the special powers of a card is to raise your own leader and watch it evolve through the course of battle. Baby Dragon has the power to turn any approaching enemy card face up for open viewing. Your Celtic Guardian is currently face down and near the enemy leader. Move the card towards the leader. Okay, the Celtic Guardian is automatically turned face up, revealing its identity to your opponent. This effect will also flip up a face down spell card to the face up position. This is just a sample of one of the special powers that a leader has. To find out more, you will simply have to raise your own leader and watch the card evolve as you duel. That pretty much covers the rules of dueling. Ugh. I'm talking for a while. Okay. Alright, we're back here. First, Bright Ops, you must select a deck to duel with. It is important that you feel the vibrations of a deck leader, the minute resonations that ring true to your soul. The cards themselves draw their power from the energies of the Ancient Ones. The deck leader acts as an intermediate between the Ancient Ones and the deck wielder. Bright Ops, it is essential that you select a card leader whose rhythm matches the stirrings of your soul. Here are several decks from which to choose. Give it some serious thought and make your selection. Choose carefully, for the deck you select will guide the destiny of your duels. Now here's a bit of a fun thing. When you start up a new character and all that, you get to pick between three deck leaders and all that. Exactly which deck leaders you're getting, and thus what decks you start with, is apparently dependent on your name. Apparently, like I'm not entirely sure of just what the thing is. I'm not sure if it's the length or if any letters have a special value or anything, but it depends. Okay, so from what we can see, our choices are Maiden of the Aqua, who is... the main attributes are water and darkness, and I'm not sure what the races are, to be perfectly honest. I'm guessing water and sea monster? Maybe? Let's see, Birdface. His main attributes are wind, darkness, light, and earth. The main races... I'm not too familiar. I think there's dragon, bird... I'm not entirely sure. And wolf axe wielder, whose main attributes are earth, water, and darkness, and seems to be more of a warrior-ish build. Let's see, who appeals to me? Who resonates with my soul? You know what? I will admit that luck tends to resonate with my soul a bit, so I'm going to roll the d6. 1 and 2 is Maiden, 3 and 4 Birdface, 5 and 6 Wolf. And we got a 6. So Wolf it is. Wolf Axe Wielder. I see you have selected your deck. Huh, so that's the effect of the Celtic Red Rose cards. It looks like there's some truth to the rumor that Red Rose cards are capable of time transformation. Who's there? It's been some time since the Battle of Burnett, Older One. Rosencrez, what brings you here? Only a member of the Rose Crusaders may call me by that name. If you may recall, I told you once before that you may only address me as Seto. Or does memory fail you, old man? And you must be the dreaded Rose Duelist. I must admit there's a certain aura of power emanating from you. I believe an introduction is in order. I am Seto, leader of the Rose Crusaders. There are members of our little group who prefer to call me by the name of C. Rosencrez. I ask you again, what brings you here, Seto? Mind your manners, old man. What else would bring me here? I've come for the Red Rose cards. After all, it was you who showed me how the summoning capabilities would evolve when the Red Rose cards are combined with the transport powers of the White Rose cards. You aren't thinking of attempting the Forbidden Rose summoning? If so, then the Red Rose cards must never fall into your evil hands. Card sorcery taps into the powers of the Ancient Ones. By their very nature, each card is a double-edged sword that can cut both ways. The Rose cards alone harness tremendous power. There's no telling what horrors one might unleash on the world by combining both red and white. I will sacrifice my own life if need be to prevent any from uttering the spell of doom. The spell of doom? Fool! The 16 red and white Rose cards grant power over all. Druid legend has twisted the true meaning of these cards. We Rose Crusaders have sworn to create a utopia free from the ravages of war. We intend to accomplish this with the power of the cards, and we shall do so by extending the rule of Richard III throughout the known world. By the way, it was clever of you to form a circle of red roses within the white rose barrier to summon the Rose Duelist. But you were foolish to come alone. This area is surrounded, and if you wish to leave with your life, you will do so only by handing over the Red Rose cards. Me? A fool? Then what about you? Are you fool enough to actually believe the Red Rose cards would remain here in my possession? Right after the summoning, I had the cards dispersed among our best duelists to keep them from your tainted hands. Then you leave me with one option. I will enlist the aid of your precious Rose Duelist. You take leave of your senses. And you speak too soon, old man. Heed my words, Duelist. If you wish to return to your proper time period, you will require 16 cards of the red and white roses. The red and white positions must be laid out in reverse of the summoning order to send you home. You know the spell? Since you need the 16 rose cards just as much as we do, I propose a partnership. Help us gather the cards and I shall guarantee your return after we've achieved our ultimate goal. That's a proposal. Do you think that the Honourable Brideops would even lend an ear to your ridiculous proposal? Can you be so sure, old man? Let me see. Simon's side has 8 of the red rose cards, while my side, the Rose Crusaders, has possession of 8 white rose cards. As the numbers are even, simple arithmetic indicates that you could side with either of us. But I'm sure you'll take into account who's winning this war. After all, who was desperate enough to summon you in the first place? I think it's quite clear which side is better positioned to send you home. But Brideops, heed not the words of this power-hungry lunatic. Simon must resort to name-calling. I'm hurt. I'll tell you what, why don't we leave the decision to our dear Duelist? After all, Simon, the Duelist's future is not for us to decide now, is it? Well, yes, but... Splendid. In keeping with the old tradition, the tradition of the old temple gardens, I offer you a choice, Duelist. Here are 2 roses. The white represents me, and the red for old Simon here. For the sake of justice, choose the red rose. Stand by my side, Duelist. Choose the white rose. Now here's the interesting thing. We have the option of siding with either of them. And I have to admit, just from the get-go, I'm more inclined to side with the Yorkshists. For the simple fact that of the 2 of them, Seto here is the one who actually gave me a choice. If that makes sense. I do believe very strongly in the ability to make decisions for yourself. So we shall go with the Yorkshists. A wise choice, Duelists. I see you are well versed in judging a situation. Welcome to the Rose Crusaders. I am honored. Okay, old man, it's time you made yourself scarce. What are you doing? Stop! No! Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. I just need you out of the way until everything is settled. Now let's talk about the red rose cards. Simon mentioned that he spread the cards among certain individuals just after summoning you. I think it's safe to assume that a large number of those cards are his confederates currently located in France. I would like to ask you to enter France from Dover and retrieve those cards for our cause. I would go myself, however I'm needed here to maintain our barrier against any invading forces. According to the legend, one must use a deck whose cost is lower than an opponent's to capture a rose card of another colour. Remember, a deck that costs lower than that of an opponent is the key. I've also heard somewhere that the Celts inherited their red rose cards from the original inhabitants of Stonehenge. This would mean that our enemy, Yugi, who comes from a line of Welsh nobility, would likely have inherited one of the red rose cards. This means that those who oppose the Red Rose Crusaders are significantly equipped to duel against us as equals. Given their desperate situation, they will retaliate with everything they've got. It would be wise not to underestimate them. I'm depending on you. And we have entered the map. And potentially our first duel will be at Windsor versus Tyr. Though before we can do that, we will have a quick moment just to check out the deck we've got. Okay. So we can choose the sort by newcomer, name, attack power, defense, type, attribute, level, cost, deck cost sort, rank sort, and card color sort. But let's go with... yeah, let's just go with the base one, shall we? So we technically have 41 cards because Wolf Axe Wielder is technically a card by themselves. Like, we could, if we want to, actually make them a card. Like, we could elect to make them a card if we wanted to. Hang on. Oops. Where'd you go? Okay, may have messed that up a bit. Sorry, just that. Something to consider is... Okay, so... Nope, that was back. Sorry, I know, but as I said, I'm using an Xbox controller where this was a PlayStation game. So it's one of those cases of the buttons don't quite add up. Oh. Something else we haven't actually seen so far in this game is that it has 3D modeling. Like, this is our lead up. And not only 3D modeling, but also, you know, actual fighting and all that. So, basic information. He does not have a leader ability just yet. He is new. But that is okay. So, let's see. We've got spellcasters. So that's what that particular button is. That particular hooded cloak is. Let's see. Witch's Apprentice. Hero of the East. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Male? Lava Battle Guards. So we've got warriors, spellcasters and warriors so far. So what's your special ability? When this card is flipped face up, all Swamp Battle Guards are increased by... Swamp Battle Guards are increased by 500 points. Lava Battle Guard. Hayo, who's a warrior. Spellbinds an opponent for a turn when destroyed in battle. Okay. So, useful. Let's see. Beast Warrior. Okay, so this is a fusion of the two. Okay, Beast Warrior, we got Garozis, Battlelux, Tiger Axe. One who hunts souls. Monsters destroyed in battles against one who hunts souls cannot be revived once they are sent to the graveyard. Alright, that's an interesting ability. Granted, he's kind of a low attack level, but if we can get some power-up cards into him, we could definitely probably make him a bit more scary. Ogre of the Black Shadow, Rude Kaiser. Okay, just standard beasts. Mystic Horseman. Nikogal, number 1. Urgla. Let's see. When this card is flipped face up in battle, if the opposing monster is a zombie, it is automatically destroyed. Not bad. Kind of a weak monster, but alright. Winged Beast. Okay, so we've got spellcasters, beasts, warriors, beast warriors, and winged beasts. So we're definitely leaning more into a beast sort of deck. We also have fiends. Okay. And fairies, apparently. Let's see, insects too. Damn, we've got a fair number of variety, don't we? Dinosaurs, reptiles, fish, machine, thunder, aqua. Okay, I thought so. Yep, that is aqua monsters. See, gains 1000 bonus points when engaging in battle against fish monsters. Okay. Wings of Wicked Flame, so Pyro, Rock, Orphan Jar, Plants, Magic. So we can transform an area into meadow. 200 health point recovery for controlling player. Inflicts 100 points of damage to opponent's life points. Increases the power of Beast Warrior and Fiend monsters by 500 points. So this one's a power-up, so I think we have to actually connect it. Infinite Dismissal. Disposable trap that spellbinds active enemy card for 3 turns. Trap limited range. And that is our deck for now. So yes, very much a warrior beast deck. With some, you know, additions. But we've taken a while to get here. Until next time. Yep, format. Complete. But until next time, my name is BrightOps. I look forward to hearing from you. Take care.